Greetings, believers and non-believers. I don't know what the hell that was. Alright, this is a response to Philos71, and oh man, did I have an interesting conversation with him and some PMs today. That's kind of what I expected, but the gist of it, I'm not going to post the actual messages here. I don't think the details are really that important unless he, denies this story, which probably isn't in his nature to do, so check it out. He basically, he wanted to address some of these points I had made about his, on his other video, the one I'm responding to right now, actually, and he wants to talk about it in PM, and I basically said, I don't want to have a PM discussion. I'm here to have debates in a public forum so that everyone can see and dissect and discuss all the different ideas and stuff. So, it from my perspective, like, the whole reason I'm here is for that. So having a debate or anything like that purely in a private format doesn't really make sense to me. I've only got so much time on my hands, even though it takes me a while to make and edit these videos and everything. That's kind of the point. I can only do so many in a day. I can only do so much in a day, and I would rather spend that time, say, making a video that's going to be seen by a few thousand people than writing a PM that's going to be read by one person. And that's fine if you don't want to, that's okay if it's not your thing. But just notice, like, he tried to spin it on me as this, I'm just in it for the show and I'm not seeking the truth, and you just go read his channel description. He basically says straight up, he is here with a preconceived notion, and that's totally not why I'm here. Anyone that watches enough, you probably understand that. Even though I do have some things I feel strongly about, they are not the reason I am here, and they are not anything unshakable, and I'm willing to discuss anything and everything, and so here we go. I'm just going to do another response. He is kind enough to at least allow video responses and allow comments, and yes, I do appreciate that. There are some other people, you know who they are, that don't allow comments at all, or are really about who they let, whose video responses they approve, and will, decline a video response for the slightest reason. And so, Philos, I do appreciate the fact that you do at least let people talk back, but it would be nice to see you address some of the critiques that people have given to you, maybe say, oh yeah, I was wrong about this thing or that thing or the other thing, it's disheartening. Are you seeking the truth, Philos? Or are you here to propagate your preconceived notions? And before you go bitching about me picking on Philos, just keep in mind the video he made. He basically called us out. I'm just replying in turn. Fair enough, right?
If you were watching this, you probably consider yourself an intelligent atheist who either is going to college or has graduated from one.
Wow. How does he know that? How could he possibly guess? Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Maybe, just maybe it has something to do with the fact that there is an inverse correlation between, church attendance / religiosity and intelligence / education level. Correlation does not imply causality, but there is one heck of a correlation between, not having superstitions and being on the smarter end of that bell curve there. So, bingo.
You probably desire to know truth.
Yeah.
And to become an independent thinker.
Yeah.
Free of religion.
Not necessarily. Which religion? I wouldn't mind being surrounded by a bunch of Jains. I mean, heck, even the Dalai Lama, the 14th Dalai Lama in 1988 said, "We must conduct research and then accept the results." If they don't stand up to experimentation, Buddha's own words must be rejected. You know, that is a religious proclamation I can stand behind 100%.
More than likely, you study a lot more than the average religious person.
Yep, we already went over that.
And the reason might be, among others, that atheists are just a minority, not well understood in your circle of friends or in your family or anywhere else, or even here on YouTube.
I don't believe in fairy tales because I'm smart and I study a lot. Or I'm smart and I study a lot because I don't believe in fairy tales. Which one is it? I don't know.
However, even as an intelligent person, you must confess that there are problems in the atheistic belief system.
The atheistic belief system? What the heck, man? Alright. Theistic, you know, with a god, right? Atheistic, without God. There are lots of belief systems that are atheistic. Which one are you talking about? I mean, even if you want to just talk about atheists, like you've got me, Rabbit Ape, you've got the Amazing Atheist, you've got Inmendum, you've got Tommy from the Bronx, Fake Sagan. You know, we're all atheists. Tell me one thing you can find in common, you know, between all of us, other than we're on YouTube and we happen to not believe in your particular brand of superstition. Please.
These are the top 5 reasons why I just could never become an atheist.
Okay. So riddle me this: if someone were to address all 5 of these points and or explain why they're not really good questions in the first place, would that at least remove some of that doubt in your mind? Make you a little less closed-minded? Huh? Would it be too much to expect you to answer that question? Yeah, probably. He's just going to keep on hawking his product. Same rhetoric. Day in, day out. Not paying attention to your criticism. Typical.
You say Christians use God to fill in what they don't know.
Some Christians certainly do. Not all, but you know, your Kent Hovens and your creationists and your ID types. Yeah, they're pretty silly.
Richard Dawkins coined the phrase "God of the gaps."
No, he didn't. And you didn't spend 15 seconds to do a quick fact check before you put out a video for thousands and thousands of people to see upon YouTube. And am I surprised? No. Typical.
Scientists say, given time and chance, life can always erupt and begin ex nihilo.
Come on, dude. Always? Even then, you say scientists. You could provide me a quote of one scientist saying always. That would be awesome. But somehow I don't think you're going to be able to do it. Go figure.
Would you agree that it is illegitimate to take an event, decide for whatever reason that it must be due to chance, and then propose a whole bunch of probabilistic resources because otherwise chance would be implausible?
Yeah, I think I would. And I guess that's good since I don't do that, huh? Can you say straw man?
Darwinism makes chance in the form of random variation a creative force in biology. That's just not very intelligent in my opinion.
Then I am glad it is your opinion that does not dictate what goes into our science books. Okay. Mutations are essentially random, yes. So if that's what you mean by chance, okay, fine. But you don't have to, as you said earlier, postulate a bunch of extra stuff in order to have that chance. That chance is a natural outcome of the copying process when organisms reproduce. They reproduce with variation. Some of them have more kids than other ones. And those kids tend to look like their parents. Is there any part of that you disagree with?
But you have to be able to answer me how you, as just a rational animal with no higher purpose in life, is here rather than not.
I don't have to. One, I don't know the answer, and I'm not just going to make some shit up. But two, I know you think you know the answer because because you've got a God of the gaps, right? You don't know why there's something instead of nothing, so you're going to say, because God made it all right. You still can't tell me why there's a God instead of no God at all. And don't give me any of this exists necessarily crap. That whole rigmarole just it reeks of special pleading, and you gotta say that God necessarily exists because of these things about the universe, but if you're talking about why is there something instead of nothing, there doesn't have to be a universe, right? So,
Carl Sagan said, "The cosmos is all there is, all there was, and all there ever will be."
Okay, well, thank you for at least providing a direct quote there. Maybe this seems like special pleading now, I don't know. But one, first off, Carl Sagan, you can't just quote something like that as an authoritative, kind of fact or whatever. Yeah, he said that at the beginning of Cosmos. But as a science, that's a science popularization, and he's trying to explain things in a way that a non-scientific person can understand a little easier, but if you ask any scientist point blank, I'm pretty sure you're not going to be able to get them to say something like that. We have this word cosmos, and he's trying to explain what that word means. I would have probably said the entire universe and everything in it, but that's because we don't know what's outside of the universe. By definition, we can't know about it. But that's not the same thing as saying that it doesn't exist, even though functionally it might as well not, which makes it, it's simpler. It's a conversational shortcut to say something like the cosmos is all that there is. Da, 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 da. Nice try. No dice.
Atheists say that all this has just existed for no reason.
Well, I certainly don't claim to know the reason. Let me guess. You know it. let me guess. You can't explain to me why without pulling your Bible out. And let me guess. You can't give me one good reason to think that Bible is more than just another book. Am I right?
But every intelligent person knows that this world came into existence at some point in time. So follow me for a second.
Oh, never mind.
If Edwin Hubble was right,
he was,
and the universe is indeed expanding,
it is,
then it follows that it had a beginning. Why should it have?
Yeah, what kind of beginning are you talking about? Actually, if you see my last video, when people talk about the Big Bang as a beginning, it's a little b, not a big B. Okay, just think of the Big Bang as a phase change, a transition period. It's the threshold beyond which our physics are unable to make reasonable predictions. So go figure. We don't know, and we don't make shit up. We just say we don't know. Sorry.
Also, the world seems to have been fixed somehow to make life possible. Then there's the fact that the biological life itself bears the marks of intelligent design.
Like, your point is, we don't know all the answers, and therefore... What? Say it. You know you want to. You know you want to. And just what are these marks of an intelligent designer, by the way? I find it very interesting that you let the viewer assume that they know what that means, but you're not going to explicitly state it, because that's intelligent design. It's one of those things. The harder you look for it, it just kind of goes away and it stops making sense. So
my point is that it bears some kind of a mark of an intelligent design.
Some kind of a mark, huh? Such as? Can you tell me something that hasn't been debunked to hell and back? No pun intended.
And lastly, the world has something called moral order.
Okay, when you say the world, what do you mean? Do you mean Earth? Do you mean the solar system, the universe? Or do you just mean the human mind? Can you point me towards a moral order that exists outside of your mind, please? I don't think you can. Or, outside of human minds. Sorry. And in fact, there's moral order in animal minds, so put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Atheists say that in order to survive, animals develop. Through the process of natural selection, naturalistic forces mold certain behavior that we call moral behavior, which simply functions to allow the organism to exist and continue to survive.
Bravo, Philos! You've been doing some reading, haven't you? Good job! Good boy, you.
Actually, not the organism, but the species. Because in some cases it requires sacrificing individual organisms so that the larger species can survive.
I smell a misunderstanding coming on.
This is all that morality ends up being. You have to admit, this is a huge problem for the atheistic worldview. That's all that morality ends up being.
Okay. It's a favorite thing among a-reasonists is to what do you call it? It's the appeal to consequences, affirming the consequent rap. He lays out a pretty coherent explanation for a natural explanation for moral behavior in human beings. I don't quite agree with all of it, but in the most part, yeah, you're on the right track there. And there's a problem with that because you don't like the repercussions of that idea. Sorry, dude, that's not an argument. So yeah, there's a natural explanation for our morals. Why is that a problem? It's a problem for you, I guess, which brings me to affirming the consequent. A lot of a-reasonists, the a-reasonist worldview implies that there must be an objective moral standard, and if there's not, then we'll have to just discuss things like human beings and won't be able to, give an empty argument from authority for doing X, Y, or Z. So,
but a look forward into the future about how we ought to behave, since morality is prescriptive, not descriptive, and if it is normative, if it talks about how we ought to behave, and the evolutionary description of moral behavior doesn't engage that very fundamental core element of morality, then it hasn't explained it.
I believe your words, like 2 minutes ago were,
in order to survive, animals develop. Through the process of natural selection, naturalistic forces mold certain behavior that we call moral behavior, which simply functions to allow the organism to exist and continue to survive.
And yeah, I don't see the inconsistency there. What you bitching about?
And morality still needs to be explained. What do you think?
Is that a trick question? Didn't you made this video, right? You remember just a minute ago, like 2 seconds ago, I showed you.
In order to survive, animals develop. Through the process of natural selection, naturalistic forces mold certain behavior that we call moral behavior, which simply functions to allow the organism to exist and continue to survive.
Yeah, I think you got it. Maybe it's short on detail, but 3 sentences. What do you expect? If you'd like to discuss that further, I'd be glad to. Of course, you don't make responses to people that respond to you, right? Because there's no way you might have anything wrong in your video that might need correcting or any.
The problem, though, is in what you're suggesting.
Do tell.
That there is something in us that is self-consciously aware of the process of evolution.
What?
That understands what the goal of evolution is, survival of our own species, and instructs us through our conscience to fulfill the optimal conditions for that survival.
And there we go again with the misunderstandings, your demonstration of your inability to do some research, and the wonder of science and its ability to progress and match its conclusions with the new data as it becomes available. Wow! Okay, but that scenario you're talking about there with some kind of thing inside of every organism that's conscious of the process of evolution, yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. I don't think that's what happened. Do you think that I think that's what happened? Do you think that I haven't thought this through? Like, come on, dude. It's almost funny. Anyway, I'm gonna stop ragging on you when you're silly. Like, I'm glad you're trying to think, but man, about 30 years ago, this book, The Selfish Gene, whether or not you've heard of this book is the reason you've heard of Richard Dawkins. The God delusion wouldn't have been such a big deal if, this book basically put him on the map. But it kind of turned evolutionary thinking on its head when it came out. To the best of my knowledge, I might be wrong in detail here, but I think I've got it, at least in general. Kind of the dominant thinking in biology was, this idea of group selection, where evolution acts like as a process, seems to have a preference, scare quotes, okay, no conscious process there, but that evolution is about survival of the species. Like Darwin's book was called On the Origin of Species, right? But that's not really it. And without going through and explaining that whole book right there, it's going to be kind of hard. But basically, the thesis of that book is that the fundamental unit of selection is not the individual organism. It is not the group, like the family or the clan or the species, but it is the gene. That is the fundamental unit of selection. It is the gene is the indivisible particle, if you will, that gets copied faithfully throughout the generations. Rabbit ape, I'm going to reproduce, right? But that thing I'm leaving behind it's not rabbit ape. It's not exactly me. It has a lot of my characteristics. But here's the thing: it has exact copies of a whole lot of my genes. Some mutations, and it'll have some. About half of its genes are going to come from its mother, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, I don't know if you're just ignorant, or if that's a straw man, or what you're doing right there, but this thing in us that's conscious of the process of evolution, in anything other than a scientific kind of, I read a book and learned it kind of sense. That's not what I think. That's not what anyone who's done the research thinks. And if you think that's what we think, then I think you're a jackass, and you probably know that by now. But thank you for approving the video response.
Consider two cavemen in neighboring villages. One kills the other in cold blood. We're being asked to believe that he feels guilt because he realizes such an act ultimately undermines his own survival status.
No, we are not. And I bet you can't provide a quotation from someone that says we are. Come on, dude. It's not that he's conscious of the reasons for that. It's that natural selection will build a brain with a tendency to find that kind of behavior or experience unpleasant. If your brain is made in such a way as to where that doesn't seem like a good thing to do, then you're going to be less likely to do it. And that means that gene, or collection of genes that helps program that tendency into the bodies that the entire genome is building, then those copies are going to do better. It's that simple. And the other way to look at it is, if we were all inclined to go bonking each other on the heads until we died from it and thought that that was a good thing, or at least we're indifferent about it, then what's to stop us from, bonking each other on the head until we're all dead, and then we're not here? So, That's the thing. It's you can have objective morals, but it's not like a standard with a capital S or an absolute with a capital A. It's just a system that is more or less consistent with itself. If you were to read a freaking book, you might understand that.
How? In the rest of the animal kingdom, killing the opposition seems to secure just the opposite.
You gotta watch that word "seems." Okay? And some animal species will engage, will actually kill each other from time to time. Some, an even smaller number might engage in cannibalism from time to time. There are exceptions to every rule. For the most part, animals don't go around killing other members of their own species, especially social animals like us. We cooperate. It's really not that hard to understand, is it? Is it? Oh, but that's right. You're not here objectively seeking the truth or engaging in reasonable and balanced dialogue with people who don't agree with you. You have a preconceived agenda, and you're here to pimp it out no matter what. I'm just a guy sitting here waiting to hear some good reasons. But as I've demonstrated over the past 20 minutes or so, you ain't got shit. Sorry. And then he ends it on another intelligent design thing, which is just God of the gaps, which is all crap, and you all know that anyway, and it's late and I'm drunk, so I'm going to stop the video now. See you later. Bye.